Alright, I am Susie Smith. I'm the GIS specialist for the Bad River Band Lake Superior Chippewa. And I'm going to talk about how I responded to the flood. And I really like this lotus imagery of all the sediment that got washed in the lake after the flood. You can really notice the impact of the Bad River watershed on the lake. It's one of the major contributors of sediment to the lake, generally and especially after the flood. Okay, so just a little bit about GIS and Bad River and what I do. I work in the Natural Resources Department for the tribal government. I'm the only person who does GIS full-time every day. So I process and manage all geographic information for the tribe, and I get all kinds of location-based questions that I'm expected to answer on a dime. And I do my best. So as far as software that we use day to day, we get pretty much all Esri products free through an enterprise license agreement with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So I've got access to the full ArcGIS suite of software. We manage all of our data just in multi-user file geodatabases, and then we use ArcSE for web mapping. So we tie in ArcGIS online heavily. So I provide all mapping and technical support. There's a lot of that for the tribe related to GIS data. So I have projects in all kinds of topic areas. We do a lot of water resources work since our reservation is dominated by water resources, but I've worked in realty, infrastructure, related infrastructure, roads, cultural, historical, pretty much anything that comes the tribe's way comes my way. So just to give you a visual of all the water resources on the reservation, because this became a crucial factor during the storm, because we have 5 major rivers that drain a huge watershed of Lake Superior Basin, and they all flow directly through our major population centers. And there are approximately 2,000, 3,000 people on the reservation at one time. So you can see our water resources. All the green are all the different types of wetlands in the map. And I just put boxes around our major communities. And as you can see, I don't have the highway on there, that's coming up in other maps. But the Kakagan River washed out a major bridge on Highway 2 that cut off the 2 major population centers on the reservation, and that became a huge problem. So only about 7.5 inches of rain were recorded at the Bad River Met Station in that 24-hour storm period. But as you can see further upstream of us, as many as 12 or more inches of rain accumulated in a really short period of time. And that is what impacted us more than what was recorded at the Met Station. Here's just a little, really brief overview of some of the stream gauging information on major streams that go through the reservation. They all peaked extremely high flow. All of them were record flow for the history that the gauges were there. Some of them have been there over 100 years, and this is the biggest event recorded at those stations. So here's just another metric showing that this is the July storm, and then these are some of the other major floods that have been reported at the Mack Center USGS gauging station. And as you can see, this July was the highest by quite a bit. So initially, record flow rates in rivers and streams caused huge damage to building infrastructure. I put a little map together of census data just so you can see where people are in relation to water resources. And we were basically cut in half for a couple weeks. And our health center is on the east side of the reservation. But there are people who need to go between Action and our health center for various treatments. So that was something we had to deal with right away. And it cut us off from supplies. Many people go to Ashland for supplies, others go to Ironwood, Michigan, and it just caused everyone to go into a tailspin. And there weren't really any ways to get around it. And so there are hazardous situations all over the place for people to deal with, because off of Highway 2, it's mostly dirt roads, and we've got culverts, but they all washed out. And shortly after the flooding, straight line winds caused widespread power outages, which our power situation wasn't actually all that great before, because as we were dealing with the flood and incident command, we had to work around losing telephone, losing lights. I was working off of a laptop the whole time. So here's some pictures of the damage. In the top left corner is a huge gorge on the road to the health center, the only road to the health center. So that was closed for a couple weeks, and the first thing we had to deal with in incident command was getting all dialysis patients to Ashland, and we eventually had to call in the Department of Military Affairs to fly in with a helicopter, get all the people who needed health care onto that helicopter and send them out within a day, because they had to get treatment later on in the evening and then early in the morning. So, to get to work, and I live in Washburn, I had to go that 3.5 hour, 4 hour route to work every day. They offered to put us up in the lodge, but after I was stuck in the lodge all day, every day, I wanted to go back home. And I may or may not have taken some of the unofficial detour routes to cut down on the trip, but it was still a little dicey. So this is our incident command center. Tammy Baldwin very nicely visited us and took a look around and helped us secure federal funding for road repair, which was excellent. Our incident command center was just kind of thrown together. There were 2 people who had training in ICS, and that was it. So we were really relying on what limited training we had, and then just kind of responding to things as they came in. There are several community members in this picture because people came here looking for answers. And this lady here is actually the Natural Resource Department Outreach Coordinator, and she had the lovely job of answering the phone. And she was the only one who had a phone. So some of the technology I utilized were mostly paper maps, because I was mostly just coordinating all the different agencies that flooded in to help us out, and I was helping them try to figure out how to get where they need to go on the reservation to complete the work that they needed to do, which was responding to people's needs, but also assessing the damage, as it occurred. And I used our ArcGIS Online web maps for public information, which we send out in emails. There's a really robust, actually a few robust Facebook groups that are just maintained by the community. And so we started out using those to share geographic information with people, share pictures, let them know why we're closing the roads and not letting them pass because it's dangerous. And that was nice, it worked all right, but we didn't actually have a public information office or officers until a few days into the incident command system. So it was really great to have them, because a lot of this fell on me, because as a GIS person, as a young person, I'm expected to be familiar with all kinds of technology, and I can handle it all, right? So it was great to have someone else who was a professional who could, speak to outside people and speak to the community and just share the information that was needed, and I could get back to doing more GIS work. It's not technology, but another source of information was just the common knowledge held in the community. It's a really tight-knit, small community. And just people having these connections with each other was really important, because when the dialysis patients need to go out, and this is just one example of many, we couldn't always get a hold of the health center people. They were dealing with, do we come to work, do we not? Do we kind of figure out all the intricacies. So we just, kind of pulled the room and we're like, who do you know who needs dialysis? And we got the complete list just off of, family knowledge and relationships. So that was really helpful. Not an ideal situation, but it worked. So another topic where I came into play was in damage assessments. And this was kind of going on at the exact same time where we were gathering resources and sharing them out. Bad River Housing Authority and Indian Health Services were the ones who completed the preliminary assessments. They were out on the ground collecting the information, and then they would bring it back to me, and I would just kind of create and keep updating the files as they brought me information. There's a summary of all the damages. 10 homes were destroyed, 10 received major damage, 24 minor damage, and 30 were affected, for a total of 75 homes that were damaged in some way by the flood, which is a really big deal because a lot of these homes have, you know, several generations living in them. Like, some people have, you know, kids and dogs and all the life. Now they're uprooted and expected to stay in the casino lodge. And actually, there's some people still there now, wondering what to do next. As far as roads go, $2.5 million in damages were assessed initially. I don't know the updated number off the top of my head. Fortunately, Tribal Wastewater and Sewer Department were able to keep up with all of the flow of water. There weren't any leakages or contamination in drinking water, so that was one plus. And during the power outage, we had trouble, I guess, prioritizing who got generators and how we're going to refuel them. But fortunately, Tribal Wastewater and Sewer were able to maintain on their own. Here are just some of the paper maps I put together for initial damage assessments. I was also helping out with, oh no, this isn't it. So this is another, I was just kind of the point of contact for anyone reporting back on information on the roads. So I was helping people who were doing damage assessments get down to the southern part of the reservation, which was a bit tricky because Government Road, which is usually the main route from the north end to the south end, had, I know, at least 2 bridge outages, and I'm sure the rest of the road was pretty impassable aside from that. I also helped route. Okay, so when the disaster first occurred, some of the first people to come in and offer to help us were other tribes, which was great because we were able to share resources with them. They were already trained. Some of them had instant command experience. And so the Menominee Police Department actually offered to help and come in to keep people off of the unsafe roads. So I had to produce a road map for them to use with contact information on it. Another thing I tried really hard to keep up with was public information. So I shared a lot of the same information I was receiving from the agencies that were helping with damage assessments with the community so that they felt like they were kept informed on the major issues and they knew where they could go to be safe. So like I said before, we disseminated this on Facebook, but they also created a special part of the tribal website just for flood information. If I had more time, I would have liked to have mapped all the different drop-off and pickup areas because we were getting massive donations of supplies and money and just all kinds of stuff, which was really great. We actually had so much help flood in that we started distributing it out to other communities nearby. I know we went down to Marengo and tried to help them out. So this is just a short list of some of the agencies that came in and offered assistance. We were really appreciative of everybody. Let's see here. So this will really help us going forward in our planning because prior to this event, we didn't really know who to call on or how they could help us. So in coming months, it's going to be a challenge to make contact with all these agencies and try to figure out, you know, how do we help each other, how do we work with each other, what are our roles. But it'll ultimately be really helpful in the next disaster. So for the next time, just talking about some of the GIS data, there's a whole bunch of stuff we need to address for next time, but one of the major problems we had was we didn't really have a good housing database. You know, we had, you know, some structures, some fire numbers, all kinds of different data sets. They didn't all go together very well, so we were trying to figure out who lived where and how how damaged our house was, I was just kind of throwing things together and asking people, you know, do you know where she lives and he lives? And fortunately they did, but it wasn't already there. So I'm going to work with all the different tribal departments, get our information together, and try to get into a form that everyone can use and access and update as needed continuously, not just when we really, really need it. We recently got access to our GIS Online apps and collector through a tribal organization that's working with Esri directly instead of through the BIA. I'd like to look more into the Esri workflows specifically designed for flood relief. And another component to this whole flooding thing is, you know, scientific study going forward so we can better understand and predict what's going to happen in the future. So we're kind of gathering data and bringing mostly USGS and National Weather Service together to try to come up with predictive models, actually hopefully by next spring. And one major thing that we really need is formal incident command training. I was assigned the role of situation unit leader, which I never had incident command training, so I didn't know what that meant. I just kind of flew by the seat of my pants and tried to help out people where I could when they asked me, but I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. And another big thing that will be really helpful in the future is to, like I said before, develop these partnerships with other agencies that can help us in disaster. This is kind of hard to see, but it's basically showing huge void where the federal reservation is and FEMA firm mapping, because we are not a part of their flood insurance rate program. There are no floodplains delineated on the reservation by FEMA, so we can't really get specific flood insurance for people who live in major flood zones. So FEMA is one agency we're going to have a lot of serious discussions with, you know, trying to figure out how we can better plan for the future and study what's going on. So this is just a general overview of my role in GIS in the flooding event. I help with situation awareness, damage documentation, and public information. And after the flood, since I was in Incident Command Center, probably more than other staff, I'm trying to help bring everyone together and talk about how we can better plan for the future, as well as just kind of coordinating all these post-flood data collections, just to kind of make sense of it all as one big story and help plan for the future. So here's just some more pictures of what it looked like on the reservation. There's a bridge right there. Someone's fire number, I don't know where the house is. This is, I believe, on the Kakagan. I think it's by the fish hatchery. There's a river. This is one of the houses that was totally destroyed. And lots of buildings were just filled with river sediment. So some people had to go back with shovels and shovel out all the dirt and sand. And this is the powwow grounds. This is the top of the pavilion, and that's where the water reached. It might even have been higher. But one thing people kept saying over and over was, how impressed they were with Bad River's response, and how we did so well in keeping everyone safe and connected. And the response was always that this is something that the tribe has always gone through. We're always in some kind of state of a crisis, but we're always helping each other. And this flood really reaffirmed that sentiment, that it's a strong, tight-knit community that's really one big family. We're working together.